Welcome to the Smart Driving Cars podcast. We appreciate you taking some time with us. This edition is sponsored by the Smart ETF's Smart Transportation and Technology ETF, symbol MOTO. For more information, head to motoetf.com. I'm Fred Fishkin, along with the Faculty Chair of Autonomous Vehicle Engineering at Princeton University, Alain Kornhauser. Good afternoon, Alain.
Good afternoon, Fred.
This is a special edition of our podcast, and we're happy to have with us from NVIDIA, the Senior Director of Automotive, Danny Shapiro. Thanks for joining us, Danny.
Hey guys, great to be here as always.
Danny, nice having you again. We got big news, huh?
We do. NVIDIA was front and center. Your CEO was even behind the wheel when Mercedes unveiled its new SClass today. And the reason is the NVIDIA technology that's going into these vehicles. Give us a little bit of an overview, first of all, Danny.
Sure. Thanks a lot, Fred. We've been working with Mercedes for a long time now. And so this new S-Class is really a reinvention of the whole interior of the car. We started with MBUX, which is the Mercedes-Benz user experience, several years ago, and that's basically been released throughout the line of Mercedes-Benz cars. But now this is the next generation of that. This car features 3 different NVIDIA-driven systems. There are very powerful GPUs in there that are driving the augmented reality head-up display and instrument cluster, a full MBUX infotainment system. It's an OLED screen in the center, and there's My Mercedes that you can talk to in 27 different languages. And then there's high resolution screens in the back as well for rear seat occupants. And it's all shared so that content can go from the driver back to the passengers, or even with permission, the passengers can send maybe navigation destinations up to the driver. So it's a fully integrated AI high resolution graphics system.
Sounds like backseat driver being taken to a new level here.
Well, again, this car has amazing massage seats for the back seats as well, and all kinds of great sound systems. So they're really taking this luxury to the next level, but infusing it with the most advanced technology that is available today.
I guess it can be tricky when you put this kind of sophisticated technology in a vehicle to do it in a way that is not distracting, that makes it perhaps less distracting for drivers. Tell us a little bit about how this is accomplished here, because a heads-up display, to some might wonder, well, is that really going to work? Isn't that distracting?
Yeah, I think you raised a good point, and there's a lot of research that goes into this, not just putting technology in for technology's sake, but how do you create a safer and added convenience to the driver and to the passengers. So in the case of a head-up display, we're taking things that normally a driver might look elsewhere for and putting it right in the windshield, so right in their direct line of sight. So that keeps eyes on the road. This new system then integrates some 3D graphics technology, augmented reality, so that the navigation tips or other types of things are put in context of the outside environment, not just an icon or something that pops up. So it's really a little bit more immersive and really less distracting because it blends in with the environment outside the car. There's also, again, a lot of AI that's then taking functions that used to be distracting. Somebody would have to look away, touch a button. In fact, there's 27 buttons that have been removed, switches, buttons, dials, that are not in the new S-Class that were in the previous generation of the car. So instead, voice and gesture can be used, again, without having to take eyes off the road.
And tell me about the screens. There are 5 screens, you're saying, and they can be voice controlled. It sounds like it could be a cacophony inside the vehicle if everybody's doing that. But tell us about the experience here.
Yeah, so the Hey Mercedes is kind of the wake up. And so you're able to talk to the vehicle and query the vehicle about different things, give commands, and then also it connects to the cloud. So you could do searches, or it has a very large vocabulary. And again, I think a key thing for this vehicle is it's software defined, meaning it will get software updates. Things will get better, more features, more capabilities over time. So there's a lot of great technology in the car, amazing amount of software, over 30 million lines of code that we worked on, let alone other service providers and suppliers are contributing to that. But the software will continually get better and better. So new features will be able to get rolled out over the air to the car.
Well, that's probably the thing that I was most impressed with, because of course I've done my own set of complaining about my 2014 S-Class, which of course I ran down to the dealers to buy when they first put that out. Why? Because it had lane keeping and it had intelligent cruise control, which both worked really well, and or at least reasonably well. But my goodness, you know, it's now 2020 and almost 2021, and my poor 6-year-old car is still the same software, same whatever. The steering sort of works. Damn it, and I've been complaining, why weren't they Tesla? Why didn't they have the over-the-air updating so that, in fact, hey, come on, I'm just a customer. Why should I have to go buy a new one? Now I got to go buy. Now I'm probably going to go down and buy a new one. I almost ran down to the car dealer as soon as I saw your announcement today. If they finally have this, tell us about the over. Is it for real or is it not for real?
Yeah, so we announced back in June the work we're doing with them on the next generation vehicle architecture. So that's going to roll out in 2024, and so that is the fully centralized, all the different ECUs that are in these cars. Many of them will be replaced by the NVIDIA Drive system. There will be, again, the ability to update virtually everything in the car that way. And that's kind of the model that you were talking about. This car is a step towards that. So it's not everything, but the whole interior, the MBUX, the user interface, a lot of the features and functions that all tie in there will be able to get over-the-air updates. I don't know exactly which features yes and no as we're in this transition phase, but it will be a lot more updatable than your car that you're driving now.
So what about the safety features? I mean, the reason why I bought the car in the first place was because I wanted it to help me turn, go down and stay in the lane. I didn't want to sit there and watch the speedometer and decide, oh my goodness, I only want to be 9 over. If I go 10 over, I'm going to get a ticket. I want to let it do it. And if I, come up behind somebody, it's going to slow me down, not going to run into it. And in fact, I guess the newer models, even if, all of a sudden a stationary object which so many people have problems with, it looks like Mercedes has gotten that down. What about those things? Tell us about those things in there.
So that technology is legendary Mercedes technology. And they continue to work on that and improve on that. And again, that's sort of the vision of NVIDIA AI will be part of the 2024 and beyond models of those vehicles and be fully software defined. The cycle of collecting data, training deep neural networks, testing and simulation for validation, then on-road testing and out to deployment will be that cycle. That we'll just see over and over with new updates going out to the cars. So while this new Mercedes S-Class is a huge leap forward, it's still not what we announced already. So this is just sort of a point along that path to get there. And again, it's a pleasure to drive. Amazing technology, incredible safety, and a lot of great AI.
Yeah, it seems like they're really doing a good job in rolling that out, and it's really, I guess I'm so proud that you're in there and doing it and all that stuff. And in fact, providing the computer hardware that's really necessary to bring all those things together. It might be nice to have a whole bunch of modules doing a whole bunch of different things. It's a whole heck of a lot better bringing them all together and then having the opportunity to hey, if something goes haywire, you can fix it, as opposed to, oh my goodness, I gotta, whatever.
I think what we've seen is this decentralized architecture inside of a car with dozens, 100, even sometimes up to 150 ECUs. They're all these little fixed function parts. And again, they do a great job at what they need to do, but you're right, it can't get better, it can't change. So we're consolidating all of that and then integrating the network. So even on the infotainment now, it's great how you're able to share information, content, and communicate among the different passengers. And again, each passenger now can be recognized by the Hey Mercedes system.
Yeah, and these things can also be collaborative inside as opposed to independent, and in some sense, learn how to behave better together and deliver a better user experience, and all the things that you would like to see as the evolution of these, which now makes it possible. So it's nice to see them evolve this way. I mean, I guess maybe Tesla helped push them in that direction. I don't know, or whatever, but certainly Elon has tried to make a lot of noise about it. But it's really nice to see Mercedes coming out and recognizing that this is a darn good path to go down.
And it's exciting too, because it really opens up a whole new business model for the car company, whether features are purchased at the time of sale initially, or maybe they're purchased later on. There could be different subscription models. So it's wide open, and it really gives the industry and the consumer a lot of choice.
You know, I think there's of course a business opportunity. I haven't wanted these things for free in my car. I'm willing to pay for, but I just haven't been able to get them. So it's not a willingness to properly compensate Mercedes for it, but it's that, you know, and to me it's been a little bit, okay, you buy a car, you get it out, next thing you know they tell you it's no good, you got to go buy a new one. But this not says this. I think this to me, it's a better customer relationship. It allows them to go and eventually you do go in and buy another one and buy another one. But in the meantime, you can get more and more from them, get better use out of it, and everybody's a happier camper, I think. Anyway.
So what was striking, Danny, I was going to say what was striking to me was in your blog post, you said that this vehicle has the computing power of 60 typical vehicles that are out there today. Wow.
Yeah, if you add up all the tops, the trillions of operations per second that we deliver to the car, it's over 30 tops. The average car out there that doesn't have any kind of autonomous features, so a typical vehicle on the road, is about a half a tops. So we're, you know, the equivalent of 60 vehicles by that metric.
You know, it was sort of funny when all this stuff started to appear in cars, some of this electronics, and then I think it was sort of early on, probably maybe close to 15 years ago, where, you know, all Mercedes begins to say that, you know, the sort of all these separate computing systems that are out there, how many there are and whatever, and one said, holy macro, I thought they were just pistons, rings, and springs and gears. You know, all of a sudden there's all this stuff, and now what it's becoming is it's a computer on wheels, right? I mean, it's
absolutely
what the hell it is.
And it's moving into a data center on wheels.
A data center on wheel is probably a better word.
Much, data coming in from all the sensors. So again, fully autonomous is going to take in a lot more. But even these cars have quite a number of cameras, radar, in some cases LiDAR, and they're constantly monitoring.
And they should be. I mean, that's what sort of one of the things I've argued for the cars that we drive and that we're in. We can, you know, as long as we should be asked to pay attention part of the time, but the rest of the time it could be doing it. It should be keeping us out of getting into trouble, keeping us between, as I like to say, between the hard place and the rock, and so that we're enjoying all the comfort features that are put in there without, you know, abusing them. And to help us, I think we all need help. We're trying to not misbehave out there with these vehicles. I don't think many of us want to speed. Sometimes, you know, it's just so comfortable. You start going, and you know, whatever. And so to have all that and have it help us in the driving function, which at times is a lot of fun, but a lot of times it's a big burden. So help us out. And I think with that computing power and with what you're putting in there, that's really, it affords them to give me a whole heck of a lot more customer service, right?
And there's a lot to look forward to come 2024 when even more of your technology is in these, right? So we'll continue in just a moment. This is a good time to remind you about our sponsor, the Smart ETF's Smart Transportation and Technology ETF, symbol MOTO. To get more info, head to motoetf.com. On the website, we should point out, check out the white paper. It's called the Smart Transportation Revolution. It's under the Insights and News tab. good information there to help you make informed investment decisions. And you may know that ETFs are a good way to spread risk with investments and focus on a particular category. Again, the site is motoetf.com. Danny, I wanted to ask you, getting back into things here, with the pandemic that's been going on, how has that impacted the progress that you've been able to make at NVIDIA? Obviously, every company's affected in one way or another.
Yeah, it's really serious in terms of where the state of California is at. Businesses are closed. Most restaurants are closed, and a lot of other things aren't happening like they did pre-pandemic. NVIDIA never shut down. We immediately went to a work from home mode, and that's where we are now, and we will be at least through the rest of this year, and we'll see how things shape up in 21. Hopefully it gets much better. But we were able to pivot very quickly. We're a software business predominantly. People think of us as a hardware company. Of course, we do make hardware. We have very limited essential workers that do go into the labs to bring up the new chips. Just yesterday, even we released our new GeForce gaming products, and it's a whole.
You want to stand up and show us that shirt?
Yeah.
So this is our ray tracing technology. So we continue to innovate and push forward, and the teams work from home in the Bay Area and around the world, and we're using Zoom and WebEx like this here, and email and phones, and everything's moving ahead full steam. We have our GTC conference, which usually would be a great big in-person event. We pivoted last spring, quickly moved it online. And this year we're planning it for next month in October. And we expect 60,000 people to register online. So it'll be much bigger than our in-person events. But
so that's going to be totally virtual as well?
That's right. It'll be 100% virtual. And what's cool about it this year is, because we had a little bit more time to plan it, it's October 5th through 9th. So it's 5 days, 24 hours a day. It's around the clock. So the sessions will be in the US during the daylight in the US, and in Europe during the daylight in US, and in Asia as well, same. And so around the clock, you'll be able to tune in for live sessions, as well as then everything will be available on demand. So
and you're going to be covering the breadth of products that NVIDIA is involved in, whether it's automotive or gaming, et cetera?
That's right. So there's over 500 sessions during those 5 days. And so there'll be an automotive track. And so we'll have a whole range of different speakers and topics, from customers, car makers, truck makers, to sensor companies, to algorithm companies. And then you'll be able to get more insight into things like Drive IX, which is our intelligent experience, which is the foundational technology upon which the MBUX is built. So it's a developer conference primarily. But again, it's there to teach about everything AI, high performance computing, and graphics.
And how do you handle, I don't know if you get much in the way of the interaction. In person, obviously you do, but do you enable somehow interaction among people who join in here?
During the conference, of course. So there's a lot of the sessions are like webinars, where there'll be a presentation and then there's live Q&A and interaction after the presentation. So that's along the lines of what we would do at a real conference, right? People would speak and then there would be questions from the audience. So we're trying to, again, do that in a digital fashion. There's also a lot of different networking types of opportunities we're doing. So there's ways for people to get together based on a particular topic, like a birds of a feather. So those will be facilitated digitally. We also have a great event for the live event called Dinner with Strangers, where people would show up at the conference and there's a board and people can sign up. We make reservations at different local restaurants and people would get together just to meet and to talk about different topics. So we're actually going to do the digital version of Dinner with Strangers online. So again, it's just a way to facilitate people meeting, interacting, and being able to discuss a topic that they're interested in.
That's a really interesting comment, because of course, with Fred and so on, we've been trying to do these Zoominars and Zoom sessions, and of course, as you know, we're teaching online, and I just got out of class and whatever, and it's it's quite a challenge. But the sort of the thing that I've kind of found just, after a couple of lectures here is that people, some of the students stick around longer after class and want to chat. So there is, one of the things that takes place at a conference is you go to a session and then you want to talk to the speakers or something like that. Sometimes they're rushing out of there and so on. Having that opportunity for both the students and for me to talk to them, whatever, is very good. And then sort of the other thing that I've kind of picked up on a little bit, same as your dinner with strangers or friends or whatever, however you're saying it, is that as you must know, some Princeton students have decided to form pods out there. If they can't come to campus, they're out there renting a house in who knows what, West Virginia or something like that, and so on. And while I'm not sure that the university really encourages that, the students that live close to each other, I'm sort of implicitly saying do the same sort of thing. Find a way to get together with proper social distancing and all the other things that one wants to do. To those that happen to be near you, at least if I can afford them the opportunity to better get together, then on a small scale. Now we can't just go throw the TI parties or that kind of stuff. Otherwise, I'm going to get a letter from the president or something.
Well, there was a couple of Princeton students, we talked about it a couple of months ago, that started a business, Alan, taking hotels in Arkansas and Hawaii for students, setting it up for college students to come there rather than staying home.
Right, and they got shut down, and the people that they shut them down, they probably protested out front because they were afraid of, hordes of students doing who knows what. And yes, of course, you've got to watch your scale. But I think as when you did it live, and I participated in that live in your conference, Danny, going to dinner with somebody. It's a handful of people going together that can have a meaningful interchange, and given the number of people you're going to have at your conference, there are probably locally, at least in the places where people live, a couple other people nearby that are also attending, that it's probably a good opportunity for them to meet, get together, and in fact do this key networking piece that takes place at conferences that are live, that we can help facilitate in this online world. What do you think, Dan?
One of the other things that we've done, you asked about what's different in COVID now. We used to have 2 safety drivers in our vehicles.
Yeah.
And again, because of social distance, you really can't do that in a car. So we've been working on a technology that is our Drive RC, which is remote control. And basically it's streaming of data out of the vehicle to the cloud. And so we can now have our co-pilot at home monitoring the feeds and monitoring everything that's going on while the safety driver is behind the wheel, and they can communicate, of course, real time. And so we're still able to continue in a safe fashion with 2 people monitoring the system, one really focused on the road and the other focused on everything that's going on inside.
And is there as much of that on the road testing going on?
Yeah, let me just, that's also valuable for putting the product out there, because I think that if we get to the driverless piece, which I think is an important piece to get to, there is going to be remote monitoring on these.
Absolutely.
Okay, there's going to be a pipe, going both ways. Now, the person in a hollowed out mountain or in their bedroom isn't going to be able to sit there and drive it, because I don't know, the bandwidth and all that stuff and the delays and so on to do that at X miles an hour isn't there. But to be able to pull a car off the road, to be able to monitor, to be able to provide support, to be able to do those kinds of things is all there. So I think all the things that you're developing to help the attendant, the safety driver on board is a value here.
For sure.
Yeah, related to that, Alan, there's a story that just came out this afternoon. The U.S. National Highway Traffic Safety Administration has launched its autonomous vehicle online tracking tool. which is a map that shows some of the places where the vehicles are being tested on public roads. And I guess that's going to be available to the public to see what's going on.
Yeah, I would think so. Whether it's not making available what's inside the vehicle, but it is trying to make it available to the public. Possibly at this point in time, slight two-edged sword. In some sense, one doesn't want to freak out the public that, holy hell, these things are coming down Cleveland Lane, and I don't want them showing up here, and who knows what response. And of course, my comment on that whole thing, none of Elon's cars are going to be on there, so I don't know. I mean, you know, whatever. But that's a whole
But
other.
the ones that have applied for testing,
But the
I'm
ones
sure
that have
NVIDIA is
applied for
involved in.
testing and so on, and I guess, you know, I guess it's good that we know what goes on in the neighborhood. I think that all these companies that are doing testing should be out there talking to the people in the neighborhoods and basically letting them know that what they're doing, because if they're gonna go out there driverlessly in the neighborhood, they're going to have to be welcomed. If they're not welcomed, I mean, you know, it's just too easy to put a monkey wrench in that mechanism and have it come to a screeching halt. So in a sense, you know, the cooperation between not only the users, but those on which the roads that are being used are at least cognizant and say, hey, yeah, you know, these things are pretty damn good. I want them, or don't come here, and hell, we'll find other roads to do this on. It's a challenge.
You have any thoughts about the announcement out of Nitsa?
So NVIDIA is part of it. It's a voluntary thing, and we believe in transparency and want to work with the communities that we're testing, and what we're creating is something that will enhance transportation for everybody. So we test on the West Coast, we test on the East Coast, and we do drives across the middle of the country as well, and into Canada, and then other places around the world. And we need to ensure that the cars can drive in a whole range of different environments. We take safety very seriously. And as I mentioned, that's why we would have generally 2 people that are either in the car or monitoring the car on every test drive. And so it's a whole series of checks that we go through, just like a plane taking off, all the flight safety requirements and inspections and all that. We have a very rigorous program that we go through to put these vehicles on the road. And of course, we use simulation very heavily. We've talked about that, but that's a big part of the safety, is still being able to simulate everything before you even get to that road testing phase.
Absolutely. You've been doing that for a long time.
Yeah, I've been doing that for a long time, and I always felt that was, you know, one of NVIDIA's fundamental opportunities. You come from the gaming world, you know how to create artificial environments, you know how to put those things together, you know how to use them, you know how to do the user interaction. And in some sense, you know, if there's anybody that can do that, you guys should be able to do that. So in a sense, it's leveraging a lot of the other capabilities that you have to be able to do that. And as Fred and I always say, safety is an absolute necessity here. These aren't safe. You know, let's all go to gaming and just do gaming, the hell with this stuff, or something like that. We're out of business here if we're not safe. So we have to be safe. Does that mean no crashes? Of course not. I mean, I don't know. I mean, perfection. I'm not a perfectionist, so, because I don't know, I'm just too much of a realist to be a perfectionist, I guess, but whatever.
Danny, give us the dates once again of NVIDIA's upcoming conference next month.
Yeah, so the GPU Technology Conference is October 5th through the 9th, and registration is open now at nvidia.com/GTC.
Terrific. Alan's got his Smart Driving Car Summit coming up. It's going to be virtual also this year. That's scheduled for the 20th of October through the 22nd. There's more info on that at smartdrivingcar.com. Check that out for the latest info. We want to thank you, Danny, for being here with us. Really appreciate it.
It was my pleasure. Take care, guys.
And Danny, congratulations. This is a big news today, and you worked hard for it. You deserve it. Congratulations.
And you can find Danny's blog at blog.nvidia.com. Thanks to our sponsor, the Smart ETF's Smart Transportation and Technology ETF, The ticker symbol is MOTO. For more information, go to motoetf.com. You can find us at smartdrivingcar.com, also on Anchor FM, Spotify, TuneIn, Apple, Google, Spreaker, SoundCloud, wherever you get your podcasts these days. You can ask your smart speaker to play us too, maybe when you're sitting in the Mercedes. You can find my tech reports at techstination.com. I'm Fred Fishkin along with Alain Kornhauser. Thanks for listening or watching, and stay safe.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Have a good rest of the day.